Welcome, everybody. Okay, great. So welcome to our webinar today. We have a really exciting session for you. We are chatting about venue and experience branding. The topic is designing the feeling, not just the floor plan. So we're really excited to have an amazing panel here to discuss this with you today. We have, first of all, give me 1 second. We have our Rachel Fishman. Rachel joins us from Baltimore. She's the marketing director from CFG Bank Arena. And she's going to bring us with the perspective of how an evolving arena identity can change through naming rights partners and premium club branding. We also have Georgia Graham, who is the managing director of Designwerk. They are a strategic branding and experience agency in-house who can shape perception and particularly are working on a lot of global sports brands and experiences. And they work to take users and fans on those journeys with those experiences. We also then finally have Dominic Parker, who is consumer marketing manager at the Liverpool Experience Campus. They've undergone a big rebrand recently to bring multiple venues together. So we're really interested in understanding how Dominic and the team at the Liverpool Experience Campus worked on this and how they brought this collection of different venues under one unified entertainment destination. So welcome, everybody. So this session today is about branding. What we're trying to say today is, how do you design the feeling, not just the floor plan? This is not just about the building. This is not about the destination or the experience. It's about how can you transverse that and really build excitement and connection with your brand through the experience that people are having at your venue or at your experience. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
Lovely.
Thanks for the intro, Katz.
Okay, cool. So, yes, please feel free to tell everyone a little bit more about what you do as you're telling us about what you've done at your venues. I'm going to open the session. Rachel, I'm going to ask you the first question. Are you there?
I'm here. I'm ready.
Great to see you. So, Rachel, I have a question for you. When people are leaving your venue, which is CFG Bank Arena in Baltimore, what do you hope that they remember first when they walk out after the event at your venue? And I'd love you to tell us, is that feeling that you want them to feel intentionally designed at the venue?
Yeah, so when people leave our building, no matter what it's for, no matter what artist it's for, whether you're coming here for Bruce Springsteen, you're coming for Sabrina Carpenter, or you're coming to Disney on Ice, we want every single person to leave this venue remembering that their entire experience as a whole, not just one specific feature, but the feeling that they were welcomed when they came in, the magic that they felt during the show, feeling connected to other people and the artists, being surprised, having just a night or day, depending on the event, away from all of their troubles and life, and just having, those 2-3 hours of an escape.
Oh, nice. I was going to ask you as you were talking. So you feel like it's providing an escape, like a positive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Escape. And and in that feeling of the escape, what do you hope is like the connection to the venue? Actually, I'm interested to know, because you've mentioned some artists that are there. Do you think that the venue and the building in your city is part of that?
Absolutely. I mean, this building has been here since 1962. We imagined our venue in 2023. So we reopened our doors just over 3 years ago, and it's just been nonstop since. And just creating that feeling of Baltimore is more than, what people thought it was. Baltimore is becoming this brand new hotspot for artists. Like I said, all of these major acts are making these stops here in Baltimore. And giving Baltimore the chance that it deserves. And we've come to show, all of these tours and promoters that we are an A market, and Baltimore and the DMV, they do show up, and they are here and they're ready, and they've been ready.
Yes. Okay. Amazing. I'd like to bring you, Dominic, into the conversation, because I guess what Rachel's chatting about is those fans that are here to see an artist, or here maybe even for I don't know, you're doing monster truck rallies and things like that, Rachel. Maybe not quite, but
we have had the monster trucks this year.
The trucks. So I'd love you to chat a little bit about what you do, but also want to chat to you a bit about fan experience. What do you think has changed in how venues think about how fans should experience an event before and after a show that they bought a ticket for? So what's about the whole holistic experience?
Yeah, I think you have a real important piece between sort of the practical, the sort of the functional, and then the experiential there. Storytelling is really important for us, particularly from a pre-show point of view, and then so it's kind of storytelling and then story doing. So the pre-show is all about the storytelling, and then when you get there, it all comes to life. And just kind of to echo really what Rachel was saying, we really want people to have a smooth experience. We want them to have a fantastic time. And then to remember us, that to create that memory that's going to go on and on and on. So that that fan experience and those moments, they're hugely important. And when we, as you said, we were multiple venues. We are 4 stages. So we have an exhibition centre, an arena, a convention centre, an auditorium. We also have a ticketing arm and a hotel, all under one campus. And what we really need to do is identify the needs of each of those people, because some will be coming in for a conference, some will be coming in for a gig, some will be coming in for a theatre show. And it's just finding that sort of thread that runs across all of them, and identifying that need. And the fan experience has massively changed in Liverpool, as I'm sure it has in many cities as well. We've had a brand new football stadium, brand new soccer stadium that's built down the road for Everton Football Club at Hill Dickinson. We've got Anfield, we've got Co-op Live just down the road in Manchester, and AO Arena. And all of these new venues and these new spaces have all elevated the fan experience.
Yeah.
And you don't want to be left behind in that. So that's something that for ourselves, it's really kind of like, right, who are we? What are we trying to do? What are we trying to achieve? And you're seeing that not just in arenas, but also in theatres and sports teams and so forth, I think. So, I think, before and after experience is hugely important. And
and do you feel like the ownership and the people involved in that, because like the level's been elevated, that the owners or whoever, is investing in the experience or the venue or the city, if it's a city, that they're willing to make those investments? In order
I think you have to. I think you have, because as much as people will remember a good event, they'll also remember a very bad event as well. True. And you certainly don't want to be the one that's remembered for the very bad event. And so it's really important that every experience that we have from that moment that of an artist announcement right through to like egress when people are leaving, that entire journey, though, it can be. We sell tickets up to sort of 18 months, 2 years in advance sometimes. That's a long old period of time. And through that whole journey, you've got to make sure that people are engaged, people are interested, and are excited about what's to come. So, that's
amazing. So Georgia, I'd love to bring you into this now as well. So I guess like both Rachel and Dominic are coming from the perspective of they are in venue, okay? And the artists or shows are coming to them. You're in Designwerk, you and your team are designing those shows or those experiences and bringing them to venues. From your perspective, I guess my first question is, what do you think is important about the identity you're trying to create? I'm happy if you want to bring in an example even, but what's the most important thing? Is it transforming the digital space? Is it how the event is programmed? Is it the sponsors and partnerships? Is it the storytelling around the event? Like, what matters most when you go into a venue? And we've loads of venues here from all over the world joined us, which is amazing. What way do you approach creating that feeling of like an event experience?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question. I definitely think it's a combination of all of those factors. So everything from digital through to physical space, through to programming, through to activating those sort of partners and sponsors on site. And it kind of comes down to the hierarchy of those different aspects and what the client needs are. So I think for one event, it might be all about the experience and the storytelling. Like when we work with Laver Cup, for example, the sort of level of overlay and design of the experience is extremely high. So we're factoring that into everything from designing the key visual before the event started itself, to scoping the venue and working out how we can completely overlay the space, to bringing in sort of historical moments of captains and players within the VIP hospitality spaces themselves. And so it's a complete overhaul and everything.
Can I, for the non-tennis fans here, I'm a big tennis fan, so I know exactly. Can you describe what the Laver Cup is? So people
Sure. Absolutely.
Who people are and everything.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, Laver Cup is an annual tennis tournament that happens at the end of the ATP Tour sort of schedule. So it's an ATP registered event. It's coming up to its 10th year soon. And it's a touring event. So each year it goes to a different stadium. This year it's at the O2 in London. And last year it was in San Francisco. Previously it was in Berlin. Before that it was Vancouver. So often very different venues, all with local flavour. So we try to sort of reimagine the story each year. But the premise of the competition is it's team tennis. And we sort of built the experience from inception with our clients. So we've sort of worked with them from the seed of the idea. And I think, just back to your question, Kat, the experience identity is a real core element of that particular event, in that you've got this cinematic black court. Sort of everything in the ATP calendar has a unique court for each of the different events. So what was going to be the differentiating sort of brand factor for this event was this kind of team rivalry and theatre played out on stage in the sort of team area courtside, and then the black court itself, it's kind of like the tuxedo event of tennis, so it's super premium. But that sort of client need is very different to perhaps other needs that we have, where we have to look at it from a more sort of global delivery point of view. So when we work with people like Prime Video, we'll approach it totally differently, because they've got local production partners within each of their markets, and they're dropping into a venue for, say, 24 hours for a quick install, and then they're coming out. So with that in mind, bringing consistency to the experience comes down to sort of defining toolkits for them so that they can activate locally. And I think it comes back to what Dominic and Rachel were saying about that end-to-end experience and delivering from every aspect of the customer touch point, but at the level that's appropriate for the venue or the event that you're sort of working with, really.
Yeah, and actually that brings up, we're not getting through this webinar without Dominic mentioning the Eurovision in Liverpool. I might need to do more explaining actually in a moment, but clearly something like this is a European wide, and now I think Latin America is also involved, maybe other countries. Song contest that happens once a year, and it's at its peak in the 90s, but it's still going strong. It's like, so just for any maybe US people who are here that don't know what it is a European song contest. But it's a big deal. And I guess it comes to the winner hosts it. Whoever won it the previous year hosts it the following year in a city, in an arena or whatever. But I guess it brings its entire production into your building. Okay. And that is different from hosting maybe some other events that you would, but I'm sure all artists bring their production to your building. How does the building work with the external partners like Designwerk, for example, to bring that to life? And is there friction in order to rebrand the whole place? And when that does happen?
No, there's no friction. So Eurovision's a beast. Eurovision's an absolute beast. And so we hosted Eurovision on behalf of the people of Ukraine.
Yeah.
So it was quite a unique one. It was a really quick turnaround as well. So that was, I don't know if anyone familiar with
because so it couldn't be hosted in Ukraine. They had to have it elsewhere because
absolutely. So it's a really quick turnaround in terms of putting together. And we obviously, from a scheduling point of view, we had loads of existing artists in. Loads of events all booked in, both from a B2B and a B2C point of view. So this is not just taking over arena, this is basically taking over the whole site. So everything has got to move. I think the The real decider was Elton John agreed to move. And if Elton moves, then everyone else can move, obviously.
Okay.
Very cool.
So then there's no answer after that one. But yeah, it's that's a huge undertaking. So something like Eurovision, they basically you hand the keys over, and for that was a number of weeks of build and complete takeover. So things like our naming rights were covered over, a bit like sort of you have with the Olympics or Commonwealth Games, bits and pieces like that. And World Cup. It's clean bowl and clean arena. So those kind of things all happened, and they take over the premium spaces. They take over all the dressing rooms, artist village, and so forth. And for our convention centre, there were rehearsal spaces and media suites and things like that. So that's one of the really, really big ones. But then from a regular show point of view, so whether it's someone like we've got Barry Manilow coming up in a week or so, and that will just be as many arenas will have, where we work in conjunction with the promoter, and they'll take over the bowl, but then things like we operate the premium spaces and the F&B and all those kind of bits and pieces as well. So it's really collaborative, and it depends on the show. So whether it's we do a lot of association sports, so World Championship boxing we've had, gymnastics, wheelchair basketball, all those kind of bits and pieces we've hosted. And they'll have a very different format to something like a Pussycat Dolls gig or something like that, or a comedy show.
Like that. Actually, I'd love to bring you in again, Rachel, for a slightly different perspective about, I guess, like what does it mean when you bring a different brand into an arena? So Baltimore Arena went over a major overhaul and renovation approximately 3 years ago. And you brought in a new naming rights sponsor, which is the CFG Bank. We have two bank naming rights sponsors here. So we've Dominic from M&S Bank Arena and Rachel from CFG Bank Arena. I was asking them the other day, I was like, you and this is so many arenas, like most sponsors of naming rights sponsors is a big ticket item. Typically it's large corporates. It's not like they're not usually consumer brands that are coming in and they've got some cool old brand things. So, there's a challenge maybe to like make it sexy, or what you need to do, or how do you work with the naming rights partner, or how has that gone for you in CFG Bank Arena, Rachel? And how do you match that CFG Bank together with like the perceptions of your audience about like what this arena stands for and what artists come here and what it means to the city?
Yes, I mean, I think anybody that has a naming rights partner of a bank understands that when you're combining a corporate bank and fun concert experiences, it's not the sexiest of things. And that's where, marketing and branding really comes into play. And it's how can we make this experience not feel very corporate and banky for your everyday guest who's just coming to enjoy a concert, not necessarily, using or caring as much of what that naming rights partner is.
Yes.
This venue has gone over many names. Like I said, the building has been here since 1962. So, every time a naming rights comes along, it's a complete rebrand of what's the new name, and people growing up with a specific naming rights. And then all of a sudden you have a new name come in. They don't always associate it together.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're 3 years in and we're still getting called by previous names.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I'm sure every venue with naming rights has that. So it's really getting that branding as soon as that naming rights sponsorship comes through of this is who we are. We're not who we were. Yeah. This is moving forward. And how do we make it fun and not banky?
Yes.
Bank colors aren't necessarily the prettiest or most fun. So it's how can you take that creative liberty without losing the sense of
honoring the relationship,
paying for the naming rights and spending hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars in your building. Yeah. So respecting their brand, but bringing your brand to life. And here in Baltimore, we have an amazing marketing and branding team that is just able to completely flip from thinking that, we have bank blue and yellow to sexy black and gold, where it just elevates the experience for the consumer, because what they're seeing, we don't necessarily want them to associate with that naming rights partner. We want them to associate the experience and knowing that, okay, this is an arena, this is where we have that night of escape, and this is where, you know, it's fun, and we want to associate ourselves.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's for naming right partners, these are win-wins. They are the goal of a naming rights partnership is to build broad brand awareness with consumers. Right. You're bringing a lot of consumers into a building, and they're aligning themselves with those experiences for a reason, you know? And so, like, if you can find the happy medium.
Yeah, it's definitely keeping a respect level between, you know, your brand and your naming rights partner. And here in Baltimore, we're really lucky. Our naming rights partner is so great. They love what we do because we respect them as a brand.
Yeah.
And we don't twist and turn their logos and, you know, kind of take free reign on their branding. We enhance the branding of what they have to make it more fun for an arena, for a performance, for something that the everyday person is going to.
Yeah. And you know, what's interesting, I think, between you and the team at CFG Bank Arena and Dominic at M&S, for example, from working with Rachel as one of our partners at SU, and so we work with her and the team at CFG Bank Arena. But what's really obvious from both of your locations is, like, there's this huge community aspect to Baltimore and this huge community aspect to Liverpool. I'm not saying other cities don't have that, but there's something more in those two cities which maybe have gone through ups and downs, you know, that I feel like even those brands coming in and, like, getting in behind elevating the city has meaning as well. That's as an outsider, that's what it looks like. And I don't know.
Completely agree with you there, Catherine.
Yeah.
I mean,
so yeah, when we did our the rebrand and the research, one of the key threads that came out constantly was that people love Liverpool, and people a major bonus for us is our location. So we're right on the River Mersey. We're right on the historic waterfront. So you've got the Liver building, and then you've got the Albert Dock, and then you've got us. So you know, you can't avoid us in the city. We are intrinsically linked to the city. You know, it's you know, even our colours, from a soccer point of view, a football point of view, it's a city of reds and blues. Put the two together, our new branding colour is purple, because we don't want to upset anyone. We're trying to be an absolute champion for the city, and that's really, really important through the spirit of Liverpool.
Nice. If I think back to my primary colours, red and purple mixed together makes red and blue mixed together makes purple, right?
I think Georgia can tell us that.
Kids, I think that's true.
Hopefully.
No, and Rachel, same when on your side of the fence, like you know, this feeling of, like, city pride is a big thing, and they're not the main city in each country, but, like, it feels like it's really a big part of the identity and the brand of the arena.
Yeah, and space. I mean, we're a little bit different from Dominic. Every sort of piece here in Baltimore is its own entity. So we have CFG Bank Arena, where we're hosting all of the concerts and all of those events. We have right across the street a convention center, down the block baseball stadium, a little bit further football stadium, and we're all different entities, but we come together to be Baltimore, and it's just elevated the city in a way that Baltimore really has never been before.
Nice. That's amazing. And actually, what I'd love to ask you now, Georgia, as well, is, so, like, Rachel's been through this big renovation. You know, what stage did they get their name rights partner and build the identity of the building? Dominic's been through this rebrand of, like, various, I'm not saying disjointed venues, but I guess there was a reason they created this new brand, Liverpool Experience Campus. What point do you think it's best, if you're building either an experience or, you know, a venue brand, what's the stage when you should be bringing in the specialists like you and the team at Designwerk to, like, you know, how early in the process they're building, they're renovating? What stage do you need to be involved from your perspective?
Well, I think, as you guys really sort of eloquently put it, like, with places like Baltimore and Liverpool, it's so much of the success of the venues and places are around the community and sort of pride and culture of those places. So I think it definitely depends quite a bit on the type of venue at which stage we should sort of jump in as a creative agency. But I think ideally during or ahead of naming rights, conversations should start about what the venue wants to achieve. I think thinking about it depends on the naming rights partner as well, and how much leverage they have, I suppose. Whether or not you do it before or after that is committed and agreed with. But I think ideally we'd love to be part of the conversation as early as possible, because then we can support our venue client in actually driving the best result with their naming partner. So if they know, like, this is what the venue stands for, this is what the community is about, this is the storytelling and heritage or history and legacy of this event or venue, sorry, and how can we sort of celebrate that or retain that when we've got partners involved, and making sure that those sort of sacred brand assets remain sacred, because ultimately, as Rachel, you were saying, you know, naming rights change over time. So what's that sort of core thread that ensures that there's still, your venue remains a destination regardless, and you have that sort of stickiness with your community and with the culture that's going to come to your venue?
George is absolutely right there. So the agency we worked with for basically 2 years before launch. We launched in April this year, and it was about a 2-year journey that we'd been on with them throughout the whole research process, tissue sessions, research, focus groups, you name it, all the way through up until the announcement and unveiling. So it's the sooner the better, really, in terms of bringing on that journey.
Yeah, you did a great. I didn't know Dominic in person. I knew him like on LinkedIn, basically, and you did an amazing job of bringing people on that journey to reveal, because even I was like, what's this going to be called? What's this going to be? And and I was only digesting a small amount of it. I can't imagine if I was in Liverpool, I would have been waiting with bated breath. And George, I want to ask you a bit.
Know, Katz, that it's not an overnight.
Yes.
Piece, Dominic was saying it took 2 years. It was same thing here, same thing with, other venues that I've been at. It does take a lot to understand your audience and understand the community that you're in.
Yes.
So doing those focus groups, doing all of that research and putting the time and effort into it, it truly makes the biggest difference for when you do go to launch.
Yeah, 100%. And look, there's a lot to be learned from established brands. I know Rachel's a big fan of Disney. So, when you think about Disney, Disney World, Disneyland, Disney movies, everything, I guess, they evoke a sense of a feeling and that piece around, what it makes you feel like, the brand, and how. And so designing that intentionally is obviously, it probably has to be authentic. So it has to take time, and it can't be shallow, because the audience won't connect to it if it is.
And it's always evolving too. I mean, we've been open for just over 3 years, and we're still evolving. We're still, taking bits from other venues we see and what we see online from, TV shows, movies, trending topics, shows itself that come through, and changing our venue and everything,
Amazing.
Anything we can continuously change to stay on trend and stay on brand and up with the times makes, the biggest difference. And that's what everyone loves to see.
Yeah. And I think other venues, I've heard this in passing, or watching what you're doing too at CFG Bank Arena. They're learning from you. They're learning how you're marrying that brand, the naming rights branding, how you're evolving the building, attracting new acts. And so,
especially when you have acts that are you're winning. And we have acts here that are so 180 from each other. We will have Earth, Wind and Fire. We'll have Billie Eilish. We'll have monster trucks. It's all so all over the place that just staying with the times and the trends and what you see online, and getting feedback from the people that are coming into your venue, and just ever changing.
Yeah, amazing.
I think that's really important as well. So sorry, just jump in. So from our point of view, the reason we did our change was an evolution. So we were previously known as ACC Liverpool. Now that was when that section, when that was built in 2008, that was an arena and a convention centre. And then from that moment, we've subsequently built an exhibition centre, we've got a ticketing arm, we've got a hotel, all those things sort of mentioned previously. And then suddenly go, this isn't fit for purpose anymore. This doesn't work. Yeah. So we've got to change. We've got to update it. We've got to find out what it means now. And yeah, that can be just from arena or from campus point of view. Yeah. It's making sure that you're moving and keeping up to date as much as possible.
Do you know what's interesting as well, Dominic, is like probably operationally each of those buildings has to exist on their own, have a manager, et cetera, right? Take, host events, sell tickets, whatever. But probably the friction comes when a marketing person tries to tell a story. Before you rebranded, it probably was like having those little clashes where like it doesn't flow anymore. That you feel like you need to do it.
There's never clashes. It's all friendly. But you're right. Again, you have the challenge between telling the story and the operational piece, and it's working out how we can collaborate to make sure that we are successfully able to deliver a Labour Party conference or a Comic-Con or a Eurovision and make that safe and but then at the same time make it memorable, and that's find that balance is really important. We're lucky in Liverpool. We've got a fantastic team. Everyone works really well, really hard and really well together to make sure that all aspects are considered, and that's really important.
George, I want to bring on, you mentioned there actually, Dominic, memorable. So what I want to ask you, Georgia, is, so you've worked on global tennis tournaments. You've worked beautiful brands for like those Africa Cup football. I mean, tell me the right name for these tournaments.
Cup of Nations.
Oh my God. When I see the branding for Cup of Nations, like it is so colorful and joyful that I feel it emanates, like, that feeling. I can't imagine what it's like to be there, because if that's like the spark that just the creative inspires. But what I want to ask you was, what do you think separates an experience that feels emotionally memorable, right? So you'll like breathe it in and you'll just go, like your heart will expand when you think about being there that night, versus what's something that's just visually impressive and wow. And that, can things be both? Yeah,
I mean, hopefully we do both. So it's visually impressive and emotionally memorable. But yeah, I think if you take the AFCON as an example, when we did the identity for Côte d'Ivoire, which was a couple of years ago now, it was the first time sort of for that competition where the event branding was centered around the destination. So starting to sort of shift away from the overarching sort of brand hierarchy of it all being federation first, which was the Confederation of African Football, and started to bring it more into competition branding, essentially. So thinking with that in mind, we sort of worked to bring in the trophy mark to celebrate that as like the sort of the hero of the identity, but also then how we could bring in local flavour for Côte d'Ivoire specifically, and what football and football competitions like AFCON mean in that region in particular. So it's all about like celebration and drumbeat and things like that, and we brought that flavor into the patterns and the design itself, and that kind of acted as the foundation for the look and feel of that event in particular. So I think having, I guess all that to say, having a really strong brand platform and a reason for the design choices that you're making is more likely to sort of resonate. So whether that's the story of the destination, or maybe the story of the format of the particular thing that you're watching, people don't come in and remember necessarily like the scoreboard. They remember the moments and sort of jeopardy between players, or the minute that the artist comes on stage, or those like really emotionally sort of charged parts of the experience. And I think trying to tap into those sort of nuggets of emotional resonance throughout the customer journey is probably what we try and do. So bringing in little elements of that through through the build up to the event and the ticket and the invite, through to when they arrive and they have a sense of arrival. Like if you're general admission, are you seeing like a huge visual when you first arrive and you get excited? Or if you're a VIP guest, are you coming into a custom storytelling corridor with lots of like memorabilia and things. Like, how can we sort of have those emotionally charged, memorable touch points all the way through the journey to build that momentum up? And I think that's probably the difference between just something that's visually nice to look at and something that's sort of truly memorable.
Nice. So actually, and you mentioned there on the kind of VIP or premium experience piece, right? Which is, so I guess you're designing sometimes the overall experience and the show and for the general admission. And then there's this other side piece, I guess, which happens, which is very important, also revenue driver for buildings, venues, and experiences, right?
Yeah.
But Rachel and Dominic probably have things to say about this too. So premium clubs and hospitality spaces are becoming, a key part of like the desirability of a venue now, right?
Yeah.
And look, that's, I think, very established in the US, or more established in the US. Rachel has really nice spaces at the CFG Bank Arena. She can chat about a bit. It's evolving in terms of being these kind of corporate boxes to being social spaces, which are upgrades. You can also, but that's going up so much in terms of expectation, because it's also so important for revenue that like the investment justifies it. But how important is that becoming to the brand of, imagine a Labour Cup, if I'm going to spend, I don't know what the price of that is, I'm going to throw a number out there, £600 on my ticket. What should I expect if I'm going to get a box, or we're not even calling it a box anymore, but if we're going to have a lounge seat in the club, what am I expecting to get from that? And can you each comment on like what you see happening in that space now?
Yeah, I'll quickly give my 2 pence on that one. I think it definitely comes down to sort of understanding your guest or customer for that particular tier of hospitality or club experience. So I think knowing what the price point is and what your customer is sort of expecting, and seeing what the landscape looks like. I think if the benchmark is like F1 Paddock Club, then you've got a lot of overlay and branding and experience, and everything needs to be at that sort of absolute premium level. If it's, something a bit less than that, then you need to know what your sort of starting point is really to define what that experience should be. And then basically meeting and exceeding the expectations of whatever that level is, I think is where we typically try and start.
Yeah, good point. And sometimes for the people selling it, pricing can be a challenge because it can be like the premium, but that's not the market you're in. Okay. And then you can like crash and burn because it's too expensive and too fancy for like people who are willing to buy it. Yeah. And
I think general admission guests need to have the same experience there. Like there's a lot of competition even just for a GA ticket in terms of attention. So what are you doing to make that person feel just as special at the level that feels appropriate?
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, something we recently did here in Baltimore was do a bit of a price restructure on one of our premium clubs, in that, you're already spending however much you're spending on a ticket. And if you're coming with a family, all of a sudden now these upgrades between parking, food, merchandise, and these club level experiences, it just tacks on so much more than what was originally expected. So we did some investigating into our shows and what the demographics are. And if it hits a certain demographic of it's more of a family show or a younger audience, we've implemented a child pricing ticket. So the adult will still pay for that full price ticket to get that experience. And then they can bring on their children for a significantly less price to then experience it. And now these kids are experiencing this luxury early on in life, where as they continue to grow with the arena, they have that memory of, I want to be in this club. Every time I come to CFG Bank Arena, I know I want to upgrade to this because I'm getting XYZ.
Yeah, great point. And I've heard another one of our partners talk about that, Climate Pledge Arena, where for family shows, there's no point in having this empty inventory, empty space, because families don't think that that's like, you know, appropriate cost to pay for a child, or that the menu even being served is like, it's like, you know, it's an adult menu from a different event. It works, and something different and more like playful, fun and accessible for kids might work better there. You're better off selling more at a like than having it empty.
You're getting a little bit instead of nothing. And then, you know, because that price is at a lower point, if they were spending the full amount for these kids, well, maybe now they're not buying as much in food and beverage, or they're not buying that additional piece of merchandise, where now they've saved on that ticket, they have the experience, and they're buying all these ancillary items that is better than them saying, actually, I'm not going to come, and we just lost out on a ticket, additional food and bev, merchandise. So it's all about getting them in and not having those empty spaces.
Yeah, like completely filling up the space. I think that makes sense. What about from your side of the fence, Dominic? Yeah,
I was going to say it's really, really interesting. So obviously at the same time as rebranding, we also decided that it was a really good time to upgrade all of our premium spaces as well, premium suites, because, you know, not enough to do. It's fine. What we've done is a complete shift in terms of how we position ourselves. So we were previously very B2B heavy on our premium spaces. So it was all kind of corporate suites and so forth. And we just really saw that shift in the market, where now it's much more B2B focused. So we've introduced 4 levels of tiering, which is much more widely seen in the market now. And as Rachel said, it's about understanding what audience is coming in there. So we've got shared suites, which you can come in with. It's like your celebration or an anniversary or whatever it might be, like entry. But then we've got things like a lounge, and in our lounge we can do things like a children's entertainer if a kid's show or something like that. So actually it's tailored, it's more tailored. We've got more control over it. It feels like actually it's relevant to the show, instead of just always being like a, you know, 3-course meal and then followed by a concert. It's much more tailored, much more flexible, and I think that's really important now.
Nice. We want to see how that evolves. We'll get you back on to tell us. See, and in terms of the market in Liverpool, like, has the uptake been good?
Absolutely. Particularly, what we're seeing is that those entry levels, those first tiers of premium are proving to be really, really popular. So we have that sort of shared suite, and the lounge are the sort of the 2 cheaper options. And they're absolutely flying out the door, and it's fantastic, because it shows there's the real taste for. I'm spending quite a lot of money on a concert ticket. I don't mind spending that little bit more for an enhanced experience, whether that be, you know, you get your private entrance, you know, private loos or toilets, or a bit of food and a private space.
I think with enhance that experience. Like, once you pop, you can't stop. You know.
Absolutely.
Keep coming back. Going up to premium economy on an airline, it's too sad to go back. But look, it really depends, and I think it's sometimes a life stage thing as well, right? You know, I wasn't interested in this when I was 20. I wanted to be at the front, in front of the band, and then, you know, sometimes these are like your tastes are evolving, and it's and also what you have access to financially. But it's very nice actually in CFG Bank Arena. You guys also have a nice entry level kind of social club space, which I think is clever. You know, it's like an upgrade to when you have your ticket. Tell us a little bit about those, Rachel.
And this actually does really well when we have that younger crowd who they may not care about that luxury experience, but they'll pay to skip the line because they're paying to get into a shorter entrance.
Yes.
And so just having that private entry is worth it to them.
Wow.
They don't care about the food in there because they're camping out, they're not eating. There's a merch stand in there, so shorter lines for merch, private bathrooms, and people will pay for that. People will pay, you know, they don't necessarily care about the space. They care about the amenities. And when it's a GA show, you know, getting in front of 3,000 people and not having to wait all day in line. To people, that's worth it. And
question then for you, I guess, or for anyone who wants to answer in that way, right? Do you think, like, okay, so you unlock these like nice little tricks and tips at a venue, and this is your local arena or your local venue, and people tend to operate in market. Obviously, you know, I'm in X state or I'm in X county, and that's where the big acts come. Are they coming to my city or the one next to me, for example? Do you think audiences, it is about the acts still, or is there an affiliation to the venue or the experience? I guess, Georgia, you're very much on the experience side of things, but I guess this is a question for Dominic and Rachel. Like, are people becoming loyal to a venue? Do you think that happens with venues of your size?
I think it's
not really.
hard. I don't know if people are. I think in certain cities, people are loyal to their venue because there's just so much pride in it. There are some people who, you know, traveling to go to shows is so popular that they're just going to go to whatever show they can go to get off of work at, a show that is on a weekend, on a show that fits their schedule, and they're not necessarily, they're more loyal to the artist or the act than they are to the venue. But as marketers, it's our job to leave them with an experience where they say, actually, you know what? Every time an artist I like comes into this town, I'm willing to come to this venue. I'm willing to travel here. And that's how they start to become loyal. And you introduce them to these premium spaces and build that rapport with them.
Yeah.
And you make them loyal when originally their plan is to in and out.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Dominic? Jump in as well.
I was pretty much going to completely agree with Rachel. So I was going to say, from my point of view, it's not really. I don't think they're massively loyal to the venue, but you can make the experience memorable. So where you've got a really crowded market and a lot of choice for share of wallet, it's like, why am I going to go to this venue over this venue instead? So we've got Manchester just down the road. If there's an artist that's appearing in both and you live in between two, what's going to make you choose Liverpool versus Manchester? And then you have that kind of need to appeal to a new generation, or again, as all the things Rachel was saying, to entice them in. There's new people coming through, have this great experience, and then every year that something comes through that you're interested in, I'm going to go back there because I had a great time.
And actually, we have some like people from leagues or stadiums in the webinar as well. Do you think when it comes to a stadium, Anfield, for example, in Liverpool, like I grew up with a dad and a brother who are Liverpool fans, so I'm going to say yes, like that there is, in that sense, an affiliation to the sports stadium linked to so much emotion behind it, perhaps, and time spent there. Not for them, actually, because we don't live in Liverpool, but
yeah, I think certainly for the sports teams, you're affiliated to the team. So I'm a Red, but I'm a London Red, which is a different kind of red.
Well done, recently.
Thank you. And
hard luck. Champions League, sorry.
Yeah.
But it's the sports stuff's really important. But then we see the stadiums that are going into lots of them having concerts now, and lots of them having summer season, which is exactly what Anfield has. That at the moment and Wembley, they're covering over the grass for the concert season, and then suddenly you go, okay, there's for us, it's a competition for that share of wallet, but there's some amazing artists and some amazing shows that are coming in, and you want those experiences from a stadium point of view, and a stadium show can be really, really different to an arena show or an academy show, or whatever it might be. It's fantastic. Yeah,
very true. And actually, they're building stadiums to be the multiple purpose venue now. New stadium redevelopments. They're all about, like, it now encapsulates a lot more, and particularly in Europe. Thinking more about how much premium space do we now put in. This habit didn't exist maybe before for some stadiums in different markets, in Spain, Italy, in the UK. How to make it, a touring stop for bigger artists, and also because artists make their money now on tours and not on album sales. The tour gets longer and bigger and has more stops, if the fans are there, and fans are coming out to events in droves, right? To sports and to live entertainment. Another question for you guys, and I guess maybe this might be good for you, Georgia, going into create experiences. What's the biggest misconception that you think operators that say you're going to have about experience design when you come in? What do you think?
Probably that it's a luxury or like a nice to have. I think there's so much return on investment potential in investing in your experience design, whatever that looks like for you, whether you're a club or a rights holder or a venue. I think, as you said earlier, Katz, I was going to mention as well, like for a lot of rights holders or venues, experience or hospitality is one of their most sort of successful commercial levers that they can pull. So if you're not investing in that, then you're not going to get much out of it. And I think, you know, thinking from a sort of, if you move one sphere out from that as well, you've got sponsors and partners that you have this opportunity to tap into to kind of build engagement opportunities with those fans that are going to be on site for your event in the first place. So thinking about how you can sort of create an edge against competition in your venue or stadium or whatever, that also demonstrates a great opportunity to sort of design the experience and make maybe your partners and sponsors as clients' lives easier, or sort of make their investment more fruitful. So I think, yeah, maybe just, I don't know if people do have that opinion that it's sort of luxury or nice to have, or it comes in and it goes out and no one really cares, but certainly not for Rachel and Dominic. You guys obviously understand the value of like strong branding and a brand platform. But I think, yeah, maybe sometimes people just think, oh yeah, I'm not going to pay money for hoardings or a nice entrance way. Like it's just about the show, but actually it's all about those moments leading up to that you just don't want to give your guests any chance to go, oh, it was great, but like, what's the but?
Or
yeah.
Like
it goes back to what you mentioned about Disney earlier, though, doesn't it? What's one of the most great experiences about Disney is the queuing system, and that's turning something really boring and really dry into an experience.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do, create memories.
Exactly.
Very cool. I have a question from I have another question I want to ask you, but I have one from someone that's joined us, one of the attendees. Question: are you seeing more and more self-serve F&B options? And then the one other question after that about AI. Rachel, self-service, food and beverage?
It's great and it's not great at the same time, right? Technology is awesome when it works and not when it doesn't work. And it goes back to knowing your audience. When we have, you know, Barry Manilow here, and we have all of these people who don't understand how AI works and how, you know, tap to enter, grab and goes work. They want that face-to-face interaction of they're getting their food and they're paying somebody. But somebody who's, you know, coming to Megan Maroney, they want in and out. They want to get their food, go to their spot, hang out with their friends, and not talk to, you know, a hospitality worker. So I think it's knowing your audience. We have both systems here in place.
Yeah.
But also with our AI places, we have workers there as well for that additional step, for that troubleshooting, for, you know, those people who come and say, I was barely able to pull up my ticket on my phone.
Yeah.
So it's not just understanding your patrons and your consumers and knowing how to help them to create that beginning to end experience and making them say, you know, I went to CFG Bank Arena and they were so helpful. I didn't understand this, but they were here to help me, and it just made everything so smooth.
You were tailoring both. Nice.
It's good when it's good when it's good, and it's not good when it's not good.
Yes. I'm going to have to go. One last question. You're all going to answer this for me. And we've like 3 minutes left. So you have 1 minute each. What one venue or experience that you've been to anywhere in the world made you think this is where the industry is heading? Who wants to go first?
I'd go first. I haven't been there, but I think it's very hard not to look at the Sphere in Vegas and just see that it's not necessarily about the scale, but about the technology to complement the performance.
Yes.
I just think it's very much on the bucket list to go and see something there, because it just looks incredible, and to be able to sort of have that tech mirror the show would be amazing. Very
cool. Who's next? Rachel or Georgia? Who wants to go next?
I think I'd have to echo Dominic on that. I mean, when someone says the Sphere, first off, you know exactly what they're talking about. It's not, when someone says, oh, I'm seeing Backstreet Boys, you know they're at the Sphere. I'm seeing No Doubt, oh, that's at the Sphere. You just know. And I think that's such a testament to their branding and all the technology that they've put into it, that you just know what it is, and people from all over the world
know what it is.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, look, that is a branding case in point, like total. Georgia, you can't say the sphere.
Damn it. Mine's not far off that. I was going to say ABBA Voyage, and not necessarily because of the format being what I think everyone's going to do, but just I think it's a good North Star for venues and just anyone working in experience to be like, what is something really unique that we can create for our guests that is like absolutely socially shareable. Everyone won't stop talking about it. It uses technology in a really exciting way. Like, I think it's still very human, and you still have that sort of tangible and social experience that people want from live events, but there's a futuristic edge to it. So I think that's kind of what the Sphere does as well. It's like marrying those two worlds together really successfully. I think that's probably the ones that are going to win.
Amazing. Guys, you have been absolutely stunning. I've loved this conversation. Please, anybody who wants to chat to Rachel, CFG Bank Arena, Georgia Graham from Designwerk, I'll say, .co.uk, and Dominic Parker at Liverpool Experience Campus. Anyone that's on the webinar, if you're going to be at EVMC next week in Sacramento or NEVA in Minneapolis, I'll be there with my team. So look us up, and love to say hi, grab a beer, have a coffee, have a chat. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been great.
Everyone. Thank you, Kat.
Thanks,
guys. Bye.
Bye.